Are you suffering from a low back pain and lumbar stenosis despite trying conventional approaches? The key to relief might not be in your low back, but in how you move your hips. In this video, I will show you why retraining your movement patterns is, especially around your hips, is crucial and to stop stressing your low back and finally find relief. We're about to begin a movement lesson, and you're going to need a chair for this lesson. So go ahead and grab a chair, and then I recommend you watch my demonstration without actually doing the movements first. And once you watch and become familiar with the movement sequence, and I'd like you to go back and then listen to my verbal guidance without watching the screen. Close your eyes so that you can pay attention to your body. You can really experience the movement, sense your body from the inside. And that is very, very important. You want to connect with your own body, not to the screen. All right? So let's get started. And go ahead and sit on the front of the chair. And go ahead and lean your elbows, forearms on your thighs. And starting to lift your arms away from your thighs slowly, and paying attention how you do this movement. Just a couple of times as a reference movement. So slowly begin to lift your arms away from your thighs and then paying attention to your back, your legs, and notice where you sense the effort. Most likely, your low back. You probably feel some strain in your low back and you're probably arching your back. So you're really anchoring your weight to your low back. What you can do instead is now you're anchoring, you're pressing gently through your heels. So starting to push through your heels before you lift your arms so that you can anchor your weight onto your hips rather than your low back. And at that moment, it becomes much easier to lift your arms as you are stabilizing your back, using your hips so that you can begin to lift your arms without really stressing and compressing your low back. So take a moment to really observe how you begin to push through your feet, heels, and anchoring the weight of your arms, your body, and into your hips. So you might feel effort in your hips, but not strain in your low back. Then you can bring yourself up a little bit more. So practice that a few times, and then now you put both arms on your left leg, left thigh. So you can focus on one leg, one hip more, instead of anchoring the weight into your low back and starting to reorganize your movement and anchor your weight and your weight into your hip, left hip, by pushing through your left heel. So you should feel more effort in your left hip that's supporting the weight of your body. Then you can begin to move your arms, lift your arms away from your left leg without stressing, arching, compressing your low back. And now go over to the other side. And same thing, notice your effort, if it is coming from your low back, and take a moment to reorganize. Change how you do the movements, and by pushing through your left heel, anchoring the weight of your body to your the right hip, and starting to lift your arms away from your right leg. And you feel the effort coming from your right hip rather than your low back. Right, and now, again, arms on your thighs and leaning forward, and then begin to stand up slowly. And slowly sit down. Slowly stand up and sit down. So you use the same movement patterns, and as you're leaning forward and begin to stand and starting to push through your heels and anchoring the weight to your hips, and then you can begin to lift yourself up. Right? Instead of hinging through your low back, stressing your low back. Very different strategy. And you don't really feel much strain in your low back, so you can feel more comfortable getting out of the chair and sitting down. So practice a couple of times and you can stop. Now, so what did you notice as you went through this short movement lesson? And my guess is that when you initially started to lift your arms away from your thighs, and you immediately began to use your low back, right? Anchor your weight to your low back and it began to extend through your back. And that's part of your habitual patterns, and you can understand how that is related to your lumbar pain or the lumbar stenosis, right? Lumbar stenosis is an extension through your low back and compressing on the nerve roots, right? And repetitively, you have a tendency, habitual movement patterns that is extending through your low back, right? And that can be observed through these functional movements. As you begin to, just getting out of the flex positions, as you're getting out of the chair, squatting to standing up, or every time you bend over and then coming back up, and then that you tend to habitually extend through your low back. Right? Using the lumbar extensors to combat that. And that is the stenosis, right? The same movement patterns. So instead of anchoring your weight into your low back and extending through your low back, and you can start to reorganize in the movement patterns, anchoring weight into your hips, and you can begin to initiate the movement from your hips. So that has made a big difference, I hope. Right? So just write down in the comment and what did you experience after when you went through this, and then you learn to anchor the weight onto the hips and it begin to extend through your hips instead of extend through your back. Does that make a difference? I hope it did. And so this is a good practice and a good way to retrain your nervous system, change your habitual patterns, and you can start to use these patterns and more and during your daily activities. How many times do you get to do these movements? Many times, right? How many times do you get out of the chair, driving, getting out of the car seat? And every time you bend over and to pick up something, put on the shoes, put on the socks. And you do have to come back up. And so what strategy do you use, right? Instead of using the same movement patterns that are really contributing to more stress and more extension, more narrowing of the space in your low back, you can start to change that so you can let go of your back extensors. And so you don't end up compressing your spine every single time you bend over, come back up. Walking is also the same way. Every time you take a step walking forward, maybe if you do pay close attention to the way that you step through, I'm pretty sure, very likely that you're going to, every step you take through, and you're going to extend through the back as you push through your leg and then you extend through your low back, right? I mean, that tends to be, that is consistent with this same, with the movement pattern you just explored. So this is not separate. What you just observe from a chair is not separate from your from standing and walking. So go ahead and start paying attention to observe your movement patterns, and it starts to integrate these new movement patterns so that your back starts to feel better, right? This is why stretching, strengthening, massaging aren't really enough, and to change that, because no matter how strong your muscles become, you can still move the same way, use the same movement patterns that are really creating the same compression through the back over and over until you change that, okay? I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you like this video, and please support my channel by subscribing and hitting the like button. And if conventional approaches haven't been working for your back or for your body pain, just any type of pain, and please watch my free masterclass, and the link is in the description below. Inside the masterclass, you can also apply for my comprehensive movement course, which is my mentorship program. And if you want to rediscover the joy of moving your body. Again, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.